Hello everyone. I usually leave this for a couple of minutes when I put the click on the live stream, just because I know it takes you guys a while to catch up, but you're all here. Hello Chula and Charles Montoya. Good to see you here, Charles. How are things going, Charlie? Excalibur, hola, ¿cómo estáis? And yes, you did. You sure did, Charles. I'm glad that you're here. And Shibendu, that's the new name. That's a new name. New name to our editions. Why can't we see you in your recent videos? Oh, I see. Well, the reason Shibendu, that sounds like a... Well, Mukherjee is a Indian last name. I used to have a colleague way back when I was working as a computer salesman, Mukherjee, and he was our programmer, and he was so intelligent, so smart. But Shibendu sounds to me a Japanese name, so I wonder where's the connection, or if I'm right or not. Now, the reason that you can't see me is because, first of all, guys, let me know if the connection is good and there's no lags, because I have a red line here, which I usually have a green one, but it's red, so I wonder if the connection is good. But the reason you can't see me, Shibendu, is because we try to learn what makes the live stream smoother as far as my internet connection. And in the area that I am, the bit rates are only provided up to 1, I think, megabyte or gigabyte, one of the two. I'm not sure, I don't remember now. And we had extensive talks with the internet provider, and they said in this area, through them, that's a maximum they can provide, which I have that package. Unless I change it to another carrier, which they are faster and their cable company, then I would have to make sure that my upload bitrate is suited for what I want to do. And therefore, I decided to not to put my screen capture function, so it will have more of a power and easier way to transmit this sound, the voice, clearly. So Avatar says, hi Mehran, I'm a big fan of yours. Greetings from the UK. Good. Good to see you. UK seems to be a very popular place for me. UK, Germany, and of course United States and Australia. For the life of me, I can't figure out why in my own home country, Canada, I don't seem to be as popular as I could be in Europe or Australia and United States. Perhaps they will catch on. So Excalibur says the stream is more perfect than a hot Korean girl. Oh, okay. So we know what angle you're getting up this morning. But yes, that's I can appreciate that. Charles says, I'm getting better day by day. Thanks so much to you. I am at the library working on my cold call script, good, which I will be using to offer some technology services that I'm interested in. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Delighted to hear that, Charles. Delighted to hear that. Strong strides forward all the time. The only chance we have and the only choice we have. Shibendu says, I'm from India. Welcome. And Charles says, one reason for this is as a means of additional income, but the deeper reason is one that you've encouraged throughout your video. Good. Delighted. Lygia, how have you been? From Sao Paulo, Brazil. I don't know anything in Portuguese. Otherwise, I would have said some salutations in Portuguese. I believe in Brazil you speak Portuguese, right? Am I right? And yes, Charles, to build a stronger inner image, correct. Reverse the wrong image I have allowed my mind to incorrectly believe. Yes, correct. Excellent. Well, actually, I'm quite amazed that in such a short few minutes we got this many interactions and this many people joining us. I wonder, again, I of course posted the talk about half an hour ago on the Facebook channel, on the Facebook page, and on my other personal Facebook page and my other business Facebook page. And so I hope that I don't know if that was how you guys found me, or just because YouTube went on live and then you were notified. Lydia says, yes, here people speak Portuguese. Yes, then you should teach me a Portuguese way to say hello. Something. Just write something which is a greeting. Proper greeting. Don't teach me bad words. Just say something like good day or good morning or something, and the translation of it, so I'll learn. Now, Excalibur says Facebook channel. Yeah, Facebook channel, yes. Yes, my potion. Well, my potion today is the usual cranberry juice, pure, no sugar, and the crystallized beet powder from Germany, which I find them both healthy substitutes for regular tea. Although yesterday I had a chance to try a new tea from a tea store close by, and it's actually interesting. It's got lots kind of fruits and stuff in it, and peppermint or spearmint, and it's pleasant. So I guess I have another alternative. Emmanuel, hello Emmanuel, how are you? Hey Mehran, he says, how is it going? When was the last time you visited Iran? Do you miss it? Well, last time I was in Iran, Persia, was 38 years ago, and I haven't since gone back, and I don't miss it. I do remember the wonderful time and upbringing that I had there, and school, and I don't know, horseback riding lessons and instructions, and tennis and country club and places that we would go at that age. But I try to be in mind and body where I can have both of them coordinated. So you can't be physically in one place and have your mind in another place for whatever reason, and then think that you're actually in harmony with the universe, with nature. So I have tried to learn, for more than one reason, that in life our entity, as we all know, is mind and body. We are in that form in this life, and we need to have both of them coordinated and at one place when we are engaged in day-to-day negotiating our day-to-day life. So whether you miss a place or not, it's only about memory. And since memory is dead, non-existence, I try to focus my attention to where I am and where I am trying to be dynamically active in building and creating and solving challenges and going forward and negotiating our day-to-day life, my day-to-day life. So it would be quite useless to miss a place that I have chosen not to be there and have chosen to be somewhere else. So wherever I am, that's the best place in the world. Now, if I was in Iran right now, I would have the same kind of a mentality. If I was in Japan, I would have the same mentality. If I was in China, France, Germany, I would think that's the best place to be. So wherever you are, that's the place you should be focused on, and put your best foot forward and best energy extended. So I hope that answers this long answer answers your short question, and that teaches you not to ask such questions again. Now, let's see. So, we have Avatar says, how cold is it in Vancouver? Actually, it's not that cold. You guys might think that Canada is a frozen Arctic place. It's not. Last night it was kind of pretty cold. I could feel it when I was out and about doing stuff, doing some shopping and stuff. But today is sunny and probably pretty cold, but not like something that you would hear on the news, such as -10 or something like that. So now that you want to use me as a weather report guy, so let me give you a proper assessment of this. And so for your information, the weather report here in Vancouver is somehow, it's supposed to tell me soon, but now that I want it quickly, it's not loading up. Anyhow, until it gets to me, I'll let you know. And my next question here is, Excalibur says, message from the universe to Mehran. Yeah, you have upgraded to 1500 years lifespan. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be nice? I might get tired of myself by then, but but who knows? And Lygia graces me with letting me know a few words in Portuguese, and she says, haha. Well, that's international. The haha is not the Portuguese part, I guess. Greetings. So bom dia. So bom dia or bom dia, it says bom dia, B-O-M-D-I-A, bom dia, or boa tarde, or boa noite. So bon dia obviously is like good day or something like that. Boa tarde, I don't know what that means. Good trade, having a good business day. Boa noite, probably that means the same as buona noche, something like good night. So, but you're not giving me the meanings. You're just teaching me some words to say, which I don't know what it means. But I think it probably means that. Now, Charlie says, if I may, I'd like to start with a question around how we can reduce the anxiety I face first thing in the morning. I spend the day self-talking now, trying to reprogram my brain with positive. Then I go to sleep and wake up at 4:30 at times with serious anxiety, focusing on the grave mistakes I feel the mother of my children has committed by starting the divorce process. And Charlie continues, but caught in the middle because I know that our centers are no longer compatible, that she is no longer the person I once knew. Charlie continues, my anxiety seems to not to be the same page as my logic. I see. So you're telling me that logically you understand that your center is different and this is not working for you, and you all guys are different people now, as everybody is when we grow and go through challenges of life. But still, while you understand this logically, you're still wondering why you have the anxieties of the actions or what you're going through, the divorce process, and the fact that you are concerned about the children and how mom's actions could be, have been, or will affect them. I believe that's the summation of your question. All right. So let's talk about it. Let me just close this weather report. It never came up to let you guys know how cold it is here, so we forgo that one. Now, talking about Charlie's question, there are two folds. One is the fact that you understand what is going on, and logically you feel this is how it should be, because if she's not cooperating, if you and her are not on the same page, now regardless of who's right, who's wrong, let's put that aside right now. We know about that doesn't matter. The fact that the two are different now, well, obviously that means it would be healthier to not to be together. If both are not willing to compromise and learn about each other and try to see the bigger picture, which is for the benefit of the children, and at the same time, the fact is that grass seems greener on the other side of the fence always, but really it's going to be the same story. I mean, she goes and finds somebody else, and she will find the same challenges and same questions in her mind and same expectations that may or may not be met, and you could be doing the same. But once neither one or one is not willing to continue or go that route to stick it out and make things work, then obvious choice and the healthy choice would be to separate, because you can never force anybody to forego their own reasonings, as stupid as it may be, but whatever comes to someone's mind, and on that basis they make the decision. They believe that that decision is correct, so no sense really trying to convince them if they're not willing to be convinced, if they're just dogmatically they've chosen that is what they think is right, and mostly are driven by their desires and their illusions of how life should be and what they can get out of this life, what gives them pleasure, what gives them that kind of an elusive image that they hope to get or they think they have. And if they are not seeing themselves in the way they like to see themselves in a present relationship, they think there's something wrong with the other side, the other partner, which is sometimes true, but not always. And they embark on jumping from this tree to another tree, and this branch to another branch, and so on and so forth. So if we understand this part, which we come to the conclusion that, well, obviously you're doing the right thing, and you got to understand this and not to be dwelling on it, because that's, each person makes their own decision, right or wrong. That's what she has made the decision, and you're kind enough and strong enough to understand that she's a human being, and this is a relative world, and people may come from different angles, may understand things differently, and whether they're making the right decision or not, they have the right to make a decision, and that is what decision she has made. We're not talking about if it's right or wrong, because we both know what it is, but that's what it is. And you are man enough, civilized enough, gracious enough, compassionate enough, and respectful enough to respect that decision. And we are living in a civil societies in most part, and therefore we have learned to respect the decisions of the partner when they want to separate from us. Now we're coming to your anxieties. So we don't have a problem with you understanding your logic and why you're okay with it, or should be okay with it. Now, why are you not transferring this understanding to remedy your anxiety and put you at ease? That is the instinct of your parenthood. You're a good father. you are a good man, you have had this dream of family, and you've been raised whether by training of traditions, parents, or by your own intelligence, and perhaps maybe in some cases people make the right decision because their parents, they see that their parents didn't make the right decision or didn't set good standards. So from that they learned what is not good, and therefore they program themselves for something that it is proper in their understanding of how life should be in a family situation. So however it was, you have come to a conclusion that you want the best for your children, and that comes through you sacrificing whatever is most best for you or your wife, and so on and so forth. So that instinct of parenthood kicks in, that you're always like any lion or any animal who takes care of their children. The instinct of protection is there. And the fact that you do not see and confirm that on daily basis, visually and physically, that's where the anxiety comes from. Because you don't have that affirmation of that they're okay by visually seeing them, hearing their voice, and physically knowing that where they are, close proximity to you, and having that comfort that they are comfortable and safe by constantly affirming this physically and visually every day. Therefore, you fall into this trip of what could it be? So you compare the situation of what it is, which you're not sure of because you're not physically or visually can see them. You don't have that confirmation that you usually have if they're all living in the same city and the same house. So because you don't have that, you fall into that path of what is it with them now? How are they now? Which you have no exact physical and visual way to know. And then you try to compare what could it be with something that you already don't know what it is. So it's even worse. Because fear and anxiety usually happens when you compare what it was to what it is and what it could be. Which really, none of them other than what it is exists. What it was last night that I had a, let's say, pain in my stomach. So I am now wondering, I had pain last night in my stomach. I seem to be okay now. Will I be okay today in an hour from now? And how will it be tomorrow? Will I still be okay, or will I have pain in the stomach? So the comparison of thought, how it was, and time creates anxiety. Because when I think about how it was, I'm traveling in my thoughts, in the memory, to the past, which was last night, and I had pain. So I see that. And then I travel back here at the moment and see how I feel now. Maybe I have less pain. Maybe I have more pain. Maybe I have no pain. And then I say, if I have no pain, I say, will it remain like this? So I'm comparing what it was to what it is. And yet, whatever it is now, with a little pain or no pain, I'm also comparing it, will it continue to be no pain tomorrow? That brings another question and anxiety for me, a fear. Now, I have actually given birth to fear by comparing what it was in thought and time. Because when I go back in the memory yesterday, that's time. I'm creating time. Now I come back to today, again in thought, and I've created another time, and I'm worried about tomorrow, which is not even here, but I created that elusive time frame. But I'm worrying about it now, not even knowing that I might be just perfectly fine. So these comparisons of things that was and things that is and things that could be, which none of them other than what it is now exist, can create fear and anxiety. And you are prone to have that because all the conditions for anxiety for you is there. You have your children that you love. You don't know how they are physically. You can't confirm that every moment, which your instinct wants to be confirmed as a good parent. And then you compare that, how will it be for them tomorrow, and how would it be? And then the question of your image comes into this mix as well. While you're worried about them, you're also worried about how they would see you by not being there, which is contrary to the image that you want to have of yourself as a father. And that kills you because that is your identity. You think what image you have of yourself, which has a lot to do with the condition of life and what other things are in the works in this story, you feel that identifies, that defines you, which is really the image that you're talking about and we're talking about, is a non-existence drawing. It's some drawing that you created that in your mind, but really has nothing to do with the reality and actuality of hope. Because if you really focus on that, you're far bigger than the image that you're pursuing. Why? Because you're dealing with something difficult. And the image that it gives you, dealing with something tough and difficult and distractive and devastating, it's a better and bigger and a stronger image that you actually are after. The image that you're after is what we talked about. But the image that you're neglecting to focus on, that you actually have, is the image of this strong man who's dealing with this shit that is going in his life and is actually having plans to go forward and take care of the matters. This image, you're not seeing it. You're only seeing the image you wanted to have, that something has disturbed it. And you're wondering, losing that image, not having that image, is actually devastating you and not confirming you, not defining you. And you're having anxiety of not attaining that what was the image of your preference, while you're neglecting the newer image that you're actually having right now is far bigger and stronger than the one that you were in pursuit of. So if you focus, instead of what we just talked about, if you focus on what you are becoming through this experience and this war, this battle, this challenge, you will know that you will be far superior and stronger, with a bigger image and a bigger accomplishment that you could ever think you could have. So therefore, this is an opportunity for you to grow. The stress that you're going through, the anxiety that you're going through, is what makes you grow and become a stronger person for your own good and for your children's good. There's always better to have a stronger father who's more capable, and you can never find that out unless you go through shit like this that you're going through. So focus on the image that you have now as a warrior. Focus on the image of the person who's actually dealing with problems, which is now. Focus on how you're becoming, and instead of really focusing about what little that you may wanted to get and you're not, focus on what you will become and what you were going to get through the experience that you're going through. Remember, it's not important to get the gold. What you become in pursuit of the gold is important. In other words, somebody decides to go rob a bank. Well, he got the gold. But what did he become in pursuit of that gold? He became a thief. So it is not really getting the gold, getting the result. What you become in pursuit of achieving that, what it is you call result, is the real gold. So you may not get that, what you wanted to get, which you had in your mind, which is that comfort zone and everything going the way you wanted to have, the children there and so on, and the wife there and all that. But what you're going to become through this challenge is far bigger than you could have ever arrived and have a chance to get it. So on that basis, the anxieties that you get are irrelevant, because through that journey of anxiety or whatever it is that you feel, the fear and whatnot, you are becoming some humongous, amazing, strong human being that have had experiences and have become the real man that we are all after to become through the experiences and challenges of what we face in our daily life. I hope that would be something for you to ponder. And let's see. Okay. Excalibur is kind of unusual question, Mehran. How do you feel about the fear of hell? I'll tell you when I get there. In the meantime, I like to focus on the fact that I'm here, and I try to dissect every moment of life into smaller moments and enjoy it. All these little moments that makes one moment, and in those very little moments, the smaller I make the moments, and the more I try to spend my time with that very, very small fragment of the moment of my life, then there would be less chance to me meet the hell, because the moments are so small, nothing can fit in it other than me just being able to breathe and just go to the next moment. So let's take everything moment by moment instead of just creating a one big place and the end of my life and where I have ended up being, which I hope is not hell. Corey says self-love. Okay. Charlie says amen. Thank you. Okay, good. Good. Yes, focus on what you're becoming, not what you may have lost. For what you may have lost may have not had any value compared to the value that you'll be receiving through what you're going through. Now, let me have a sip of this, because you took all the energy out of me with that question. Thank you, Excalibur. Yeah, hopefully I won't. Yeah. Well, you know, the hell actually is not something that you have to wait for. It's actually what we create for ourselves in our daily lives. And pretty much the instrument that creates that hell is our own mind. So we have to understand really how to clean up the mind as much as possible. Every one of us have shit in the mind. It is just not possible to think that somebody in this world doesn't have garbage in their mind, because the mind is got powers that you're just simply not completely aware of it. And some of those powers are its problems, its glitches, shortcomings that creates our own hell by simply not being able to clear what it is that creates all those nasty thoughts and behavior and leads us to edge of the cliffs and makes some of us even jump. Decisions that we make are based on our emotions, based on our logics, and all that means that we must focus a little bit more, a lot more, on understanding what our psyche is all about. How does this thing functions? What is it that makes it seem this way or that way, that makes us make a decision in this way or that way? What are these elements that makes us feel, act, and react the way we do? All has to do with understanding of the relationship between thought and consciousness. What is our consciousness? Where did it come from? How is it put together? What are the fragments and content of our consciousness? What is its relationship with our thoughts? Where does our thoughts come from? How did our thoughts take place? How is it developed? How is it born? Where is the role of ego, desire, and fear into it all? All of that helps us to understand the function and the mechanism of our brain, of our thoughts, of our consciousness, of our psyche, of our center. And that is where hell and heaven begins. But before that, that is where all the decision makings are taking place. And the decision makings and the perceptions of life is all based on how our consciousness and thoughts and fear and desire and ego are interacting or put together, and where they come from, how they're born. By understanding all these, then you will know why is it that your mind
feels this way or you feel this way? Why is it that such a thought or such an expression is created in your mind? Why? And when you understand why, then you don't fall for it. You don't get fooled by it. Because often, if not all the time, what we think happens in our head. And since our head is mounted on our body and that is part of our physical entity, and we think, well, me is a physical entity. We think that's our body is me, and therefore my head is on my body, and my body belongs to me, and I'm a good person. I know myself, so I have credibility. Therefore, my head, what's created inside of it, my thoughts, have credibility because I know the source. So when a thought appears in your head, you actually have given it credibility because you think it comes from you. But lo and behold, that your head, your brain, your mind is just a receiver. And not every thought that is there is intended by you, is created, produced by you. It's a receiver, like a television, like a radio. It can simply receive all kinds of waves and all kinds of programs made in some station, some far, far, far away. But yet, if you look at your TV or your radio, when you dial it open, when you turn it on, and you see a program on TV screen, on your TV screen in your own home, just because your TV has received it and it's in your home, you're seeing it on the screen, does that mean that it's also created by your TV? No, the TV is just a receiver. Just because it's happening in your home and you can see it, does that mean that you created it? No. It's a receiver. It has the capability to receive all kinds of programs from all over the world, wherever the stations who produce that program is broadcasting it. And the radio the same. You change the channel, you get a different tune, different music, different program. But just because you hear it on your radio doesn't mean that your radio is the actual producing station. It's just a receiver. Same thing your mind. When you have a thought that enters into it and appears from nowhere, and it's negative or whatever it is that you really didn't choose, you didn't initiate it, but it's there, and it makes you wonder, makes you worried, makes you concerned, and or annoys you, whatever, that simply means, it doesn't mean that because it appeared in your head, you produced it, you had anything to do with its creation. It's a receiver. It has the capabilities to have intuition, to receive from collective consciousness of the universe and things that are happening. You've been exposed in all the things that your consciousness have been put together by, all the contents of it. Your thoughts could be roaming around and picking up some things. In my book, in my book, Transient Thoughts and Me, I have explained very clearly that if you actually go to my site, mindthatseekstruth.com, and click on the Transient Thoughts and Me book, you will look at the table of contents and the sample chapter is there, but look at the table of contents and you will see that there are topics such as this, what we were just talking about. And if you had a chance to look at the contents of that title, that chapter, you will see that it's talking about letting you imagine your mind to be like a library. And in the library, there are lots of books of all kinds that have found their way into that library. Some of the books have been purchased by the library. Some of the books have been donated. Some of the books happen to just be left there by somebody, or they've been deposited in one way or another, but not all of them were written by the librarian or the whole entity. Now, if you turn that library into your consciousness, there are lots of books in that consciousness, lots of topics, lots of things, lots of contents, and all those contents, not all of them are yours. You were exposed to it. You saw it through a movie. You saw it through something you read in a book, something that you watched on a television, something your teacher said, something you saw somebody's behaving in the street that way. Many different ways that these information have been deposited in your consciousness, like all those books that have been deposited or donated or somehow found their way into the library to be deposited there. And each one of those books represents a thought topic, And each one of those pages and words in those books represent different fragments of those thoughts. But they're not written by you. They're not the books that was written by you. So not all thoughts have to do with you and identify with you or represent you or you have anything to do with them. It's just the fact that your library, there are lots of information there. So you got to be able to know that just because a thought comes to your head, it doesn't mean you got to act on it. Or it doesn't mean that it has any meaning. It's just stupid. It just happens to be there. Like a radio station, television station, like a library that you're walking in and some book is open in some table that you're passing by. That doesn't mean you picked that book and opened that chapter and said that's your choice you want to read. It's the same thing in your mind. So you got to be aware of these behaviors of the mind and you'll be at ease that don't take every thought that comes to your mind seriously as if it has credibility and put there by choice for you to pay attention to. So there are lots of other things in those books about these sort of things, and I hope that you guys will get a chance to go on the site and pick up the ebook version of it, which is very cheap and nominal, and they're purposely cheap because I want everybody to be able to afford it and to get it. Otherwise, the part that the channel or the site can make money off of it are the printed matter ones, which I'm not encouraging you for that. I want you guys to go for the ebooks so you can have you will have that in your library for reference. And there are a lot more about transient thoughts and how the mind works and thoughts enter into your mind, and explains it in a way that you can understand it. These knowledge will help you to be more in control of knowing what is happening in your psyche and to be able to deal with these anxieties and things that are stumbling blocks in our daily life. Now, let's see, while we were talking, if there was any new. Excalibur says, instead, a heaven full of horses. Oh, great. Yeah, I could enjoy that. Avatar asks, what do you believe happens when we die? After, again, in Me, My Psyche and I, another ebook of mine or another book of mine, which also available in ebook, in my own site, Amazon or Indigo here in Canada. But you focus on this question, focusing on this question opens a whole can of worm that I can talk about it for an hour or so. So I think I leave that until you guys get a hold of that Me, My Psyche and I, and look at the table of contents, and there's a chapter we talk about, death and so on. So perhaps that would be better way to handle it than just talk for an hour here for that question. Now let's see if we have shorter questions that we can tackle. Corey says, how do you feel about, oops, I lost it, where did it go? How do you feel about zodiac signs? I don't know really, and our perception of them in finding the right mate. Ah, I see. I have found that the characteristics of what is described about each sign is very accurate. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it actually, I've noticed that they are accurate pretty much, and that could be a good guideline to perhaps consider maybe as part of the many other considerations that you will have when you find you're looking for a more matching mate. But you can't solely depend on that as that being the gospel or the some kind of a divine direction for finding your mate. There's lots of other criteria, and most important is the way your consciousness is put together and your mate's consciousness is put together. And you have to focus on getting to know each other on that level and see the binding that happens through understanding and interacting with each other's consciousness. Otherwise, I don't care what kind of a zodiac information you get from, that it describes the characteristics of a person based on the month or year that they've been born. It's okay, partly helpful, but not really binding in a way that that's how it's going to be. If that was the case, there would be no murder or no negative person or bad person in the world if they are born in the same month or year that you have been born, because you're obviously a decent person, a good person, and don't have any negative intentions for other people in the world. But it's not like that. If that was the case, then it would be easy, I guess, to figure out who is this way or that way. Let's see. Corey says, more so on compatibility between different signs. Yeah, well, I've had different, like on the hindsight, when I look back of the relationships that I had in university or through my life, or who I liked, or how it was, and my adult age, sometimes the person that is supposedly not necessarily the zodiacs are not really seem to be perfectly compatible, turned out to be a wonderful relationship, and sometimes the one that actually supposed to be compatible didn't turn out to be, because no matter where you have been born, on what month or what year or what zodiac sign you are, it all depends on how your consciousness has been put together. And that consciousness is put together via the people you meet, what you've been exposed to, the social values that you're raised in, the dogmas, the religious beliefs, and the cultures and customs, and what you studied, and what people were your teachers, or what kind of parents and siblings. Really, all that can be overridden. All zodiac sign information could be overridden with all these other things, because you are what your consciousness has been put together. And zodiac really is just like, if this person is in the right environment, will supposed to be like this, so to speak. But if that same person is put in a different environment, it turns out to be totally different. Just like if two infants are born, if they're just two newly born, and one of them is born in Germany and the other one is born in China. Now you take the one in China, bring it to Germany at that very day, and take the one in Germany and take him to China, and then have them raised in a Chinese family, the one that was German, and have the Chinese little boy or girl coming to Germany and be raised with a German family. Suddenly, regardless of what their origins been, they're shaped differently. So I don't care really what zodiac is. You are who you become by your consciousness and by what you're exposed and encouraged to learn, and so on and so forth, maybe with some little minor differences, holding on to your natural, I guess, inclinations of this is what kind of personality you have, or this is what your propensity is towards, like being compassionate, being a good person, or being violent. These sort of things maybe, I don't know, stays in somewhat if it's chemically related or in your genes. Otherwise, you become a totally different person. The Chinese one will become German, and the German one becomes Chinese, regardless of how they look, or where they've been born, or what their zodiac sign is. So let's don't be too focused on these sort of things. Otherwise, you become a person who can't really make a decision unless your zodiac says this. And if your zodiac says you're shit, then you think you are, because that's zodiac. It's printed in stone. Or if the zodiac says you're a really good person, but you're a selfish asshole, and you believe that you are, then you continue being a selfish asshole. Of course, I don't mean you, but I'm just talking in general. Um, Excalibur says, what would be the best piece of advice of any kind from your vast experience in life for a young man in his 20s? Learn how you tick. Learn about your psyche. Learn about the stuff that I'm talking about. Because when you know what the mechanism of your psyche is, then however you're influenced or affected in your daily life, you will have a better chance to figure them out, and your reactions would be different than if you didn't know what it does to your psyche and how your psyche reflects it and responds to it and why. Because then you will be able to make proper judgment and be a little bit more in control of your behavior after experiencing or encountering whatever it is that you encounter, because you know about how it is actually affecting your psyche. It's not that necessarily what you feel to react is a correct reaction, but you know why you feel the way you do. And you also must pay attention to your preparation of what it is that you like to do in this life and what can you do to prepare for it. Because the time that passes doesn't come back. And if that time that passes you haven't prepared, well, you won't be able to perform as you would have wished to. For example, if you have time until a certain tournament in tennis or soccer, well, you can't just wait around until the tournament starts and hope to play well. You should have prepared for it, meaning using the time until it gets to the time that you need to use this skill that you're supposed to know wisely and practice and prepare. So that preparation for now in age 20 would be bringing balance to your life, which means some would be studies and preparation for to become somebody and accomplish something through something that you like to do, and some of it would be knowing what things you shouldn't be involved in through having brought knowledge to yourself that the consequence of this is that and that is that, learning from the people before you, reading some of their biographies of people who have done good in this world, and shaping your psyche and your consciousness in a way that it could always be of an asset rather than an ass. Because we are often guided or misguided by our own thoughts, and the thoughts come from our consciousness, which often lacks information, as knowledge and information is always limited. So the more you know, the better you can actually guide yourself through the maze of life. Some of the things that I would have liked to share with you guys, but of course, if I think it through, there could be some other things as well. So, let's see. Charlie says, thank you so much for all your wisdom, Mehran. My pleasure, dear. I have to run. Looking forward to listening to the rest of today's live broadcast tonight. Okay, it will probably be uploaded in a few days because I've got still so many to be uploaded of the previous ones. And Excalibur says, instead of what did you say? Excalibur says, instead of ass. Haha. Thank you, Mehran. Great answer. Okay. All right, guys. It seems to me that it's been about 1 hour, 5 minutes short, and we seem to have tackled a number of questions very quickly. So I think that's time for me to say goodbye, let you guys go do whatever it is that you wanted to do, and I will continue with my cranberry juice and beet crystal powders and hot water and see what else I can get myself into today. So love you all. Thank you for joining me for this moment, this time of the day, and Take good care of yourself and the others, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.